Hello, future millionaires, and welcome back to the Get Rich Slow podcast. We are your hosts, Adrian Shermer, Rob Delavan, and Lance Johnson. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Excited to have Sarah with us today.
Yes.
Glad to be here.
Hey, Sarah. Today, our guest, Sarah Vanhoose. On our screen now, you can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, YouTube, and probably a dozen more platforms by the time our producer Avery gets done spreading us over the web. Today, we're talking to Sarah Vanhoose. And Sarah, Journey to Influence. What can you tell me about that?
Yeah, journey to influence. I feel like life's a journey, right? And mine is influencing others through coaching. So I'm a financial coach and small business coach. So that's it. This journey. It's a long story, but we'll keep it short today.
Nice.
Excellent.
Sarah is focused on helping individuals, couples, and small business owners stress less about their money by making a plan and walking through it, encouraging accountability through her online coaching business, Journey to Influence. As a trained Ramsey Preferred Finance Master Coach, she makes money stuff simple and easy to understand, going back to basics. Sarah's background is as a leader in a large healthcare organization. She and her husband James have 2 daughters and live in Portland, Oregon. Yeah, absolutely. As usual, just a quick aside, you can find out about more about us and more about our events at roi-fa.com/events. And yeah, today is all about getting to know Sarah, learning about, starting with the history. What made you into the person that you are today?
Okay. So question one for you, Sarah. Let's kick us off with tell us your story. Where'd you grow up? What was your family like? Give us all things Sarah Vanhoose.
Oh, okay. All things growing up. I grew up a couple of hours from here in the Columbia River Gorge.
Okay.
And my
What
parents.
city? What city?
I don't think you'll know.
Oh, okay.
It's a little town called Lisle, Washington. And even further remote.
Never
So
heard
my
of that.
parents own a ranch
Okay.
up there, and so I grew up on a farm. Oldest daughter of 4 siblings in total. So I'm a farm girl. Like I grew up farm girl. Our closest neighbors were 3.5 miles away, so it was pretty remote. And my parents own and operate a cattle ranch now. So growing up, my dad had a number of different jobs sort of leading into that, but that was his passion, was pursuing ranching. And now he does that full time today. But I grew up doing chores, in the morning, doing chores in the evening, and really helped to solidify my work ethic overall through farm life.
And did you hike those 3.5 miles to school uphill both ways in the snow?
I did hike it a few times, but it was not full time. Yeah.
Okay.
It's where I learned how to drive. My first vehicle was like driving a tractor. And when I was probably 12 or 13, my parents didn't want to run us out to the bus stop. And so I drove like an AMC out to the bus stop, 3 miles. It's just like, that's the way that I learned. That's just the way that you do things when you're living a little bit more remote.
So you would drive to the bus stop to catch the bus?
Yes. And then ride the bus probably an hour, right, each way to school. It was quite an adventure.
And if you would have just driven straight to school, it would have been
less time. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then, so your family, describe that again. You got a little bit there, but
sure. My family, my parents are still married. Let's see, I'm 41, so they've been married for 43 years. And I've got 3 other siblings, so 2 younger sisters and 1 younger brother.
Sarah, what is a significant story that made an impact on your life, and what life lessons have you learned to make you into the person you are today?
So many good farm stories for sure. But one of the stories that sticks with me so vividly is a story from college. So I went to college, started out at Eastern Washington University in Spokane, Washington. It's cold, right, in the winters. It's warm in the summers. And a girlfriend and I moved off campus our second year in college and rented this really ill-equipped home for the winters in Spokane. I swear that our heating bill was more than our rent because it was just like, it was so cold. I was on my own at that time. I moved out of my parents' home when I was 17 and moved and went to college when I was 18 and was really on my own, had kind of separated as a full-grown adult with my parents, and times were like tight. I took minimal student loans in order to, try to make sure that I was keeping within my means. Worked a couple of different jobs while I was in college. And I remember having sat down, paid the bills with my roommate, divvied up our electric bill, divvied up our rent, and I had $20 left over for groceries. And I remember having to figure out how I was going to make that stretch like until the next, paycheck, which was at least a few weeks away. So taking my $20 to the grocery store and buying very soy sauce to go with the box of rice that we had in the cupboard, peanut butter, right, to go with my sandwiches, and milk to go with the mac and cheese, again, that was in the cupboard. So like making all of these decisions based on what's going to last, and also knowing that I never wanted to do this like full term. like this is I felt I was poor. I was a broke college student, too stubborn to probably call my parents and ask for a little bit of support, but gritty and figuring out a way through it. So super vivid memory of that grocery store trip and making that $20 last long term.
So that's
wow, you really did it right. Yeah. She bought milk. She bought peanut butter. I think the three of us are like, well, we would have a beer, and then what would have been left over? I don't know. Ramen. It's very adult of you early on.
Talk a little bit more about, I've known a lot of farmers, people growing up in farm, and Rob and Adrian and I talk a lot about, you can work hard and you can have a success story. You can work smart and you can have a success story. And when you can work hard and smart, you can move mountains. So, you can't learn hard work. It just like, it's either you're born with it or like in farming, you can't be a lazy farmer. You won't be a farmer very long. So talk a little bit about that and work ethics and how that applied.
Yeah, so much. So when my parents started their farm, or when we moved to the property that my parents live on now, it was, bare ground. So my parents built, and when I say my parents, I also very much mean my siblings and I as well. We're all a part of this, like, building up of our
communal experience.
Communal experience for sure. So we started with building a shop, and it also housed, farm equipment. My dad had a 4-seater airplane that was a hobby that also like had a front seat in the shop, and then my family lived on in an apartment essentially on the side of the shop. It was probably 1,000 square feet or something. So I was probably between 14 and 17. I was living there, and on the during the summers and on the weekends, we built my parents' log home that they live in now. So when we're talking about work ethic, work was part of our just daily activity. Like, this is what we needed to do in order to kind of make the family continue to thrive. And it was an expectation, or I didn't have the option really of kind of tapping out and doing something different, or having more screen time, or whatever it is the kids do these days. But that was just like part of who we are. We had, there was days on the farm that, again, like regardless of rain or shine, we had some quite critical tasks that needed to be done. There was some serious flooding that happened one winter, and our pond broke a dam. And so we were out there like with flashlights and tarps in 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, trying to dam up a pond from it. And it wasn't successful, by the way, but it was a necessary try from my dad's perspective. So lots of those little memories that were like, it's just what you have to do, right, in order to kind of make things work.
Yeah, I lived on a working cattle ranch for a period of time myself, actually, funny enough. And you're totally right. It's like, it's not like, oh, when do you want to do this? It's like, stuff just has a time that it has to be done, and that's it. And it's a brilliant way to build that work ethic, because there's no choice. There's no, let's do it tomorrow. for most tasks, I feel like.
Yeah. So those life lessons, obviously they've made you into the person you are today. And obviously led to the macaroni and cheese and peanut butter conversation. You make do, right?
Very
You build
practical.
a dam with a tarp.
That's right.
I mean, that's forever, right? I mean,
Right.
you never really can pull that out of you.
I think it's there's some grit and determination that like was certainly weaved into my life early on. It was my dad's pursuit of his dream of ranching, right? He was an auto mechanic and then a service manager for a number of years, but wanted to pursue his passion through ranching. So watching him pursue his passion, I think, was an important memory for me to hold on to later in life. And then it's also just my mom really kind of encouraged this, like, is it a problem or is it an inconvenience? You know, she really helped to like help us make those determinations between like, let's focus on things that are really problems, but inconveniences, we need to figure out how to let those roll off our back.
All right, Sarah, you get access to the time machine. I'm picturing a phone booth. Maybe it's Bill and Ted. Maybe it's, Doctor Who. Depends on how you grew up. But what advice would you give your younger self if you could get that 5-minute blink into the past?
Yeah, I think that I would go talk to my, my 20-year-old self, the self that was in her early 20s, and remind her to stay in her lane, mind her own business a little bit. I think, yeah, not that I was up in everybody else's business, but I think so often I was watching what everybody else was doing, what everybody else had, and went to go turn and kind of acquire it myself, not always in the most responsible fashion. So instead of doing things in pursuit of others' visibility, right, or recognition, but really just kind of staying in my own lane and doing what was right for me in the moment, would have served me better.
It's a great message. Maybe increasingly important in this day and age as people often compare
That
themselves
sounds like
across
an
social
hour of
media.
therapy.
Yeah.
Right,
It might need more than 5
probably.
minutes.
Well, there's an evolution there, right? You're a different person today than you were, 10 years ago and 20 years ago. And would it just be the 20-year-old? Say you could do a couple more blinks, and it's not to buy Bitcoin, by the way.
Yeah.
Right, different stock options.
Yeah.
Like the minding my own business one is certainly huge. And I don't know, I think pausing more as I kind of like we eke into my later 20s and early 30s, when my kids were young, I think taking more time to remember those moments, right? Capture those, not necessarily capturing them on my phone, right? Or with any recording device, but just being super present in those moments, I think is something that they just get so big so fast. My girls are now 12 and 9, and I won't be able to get those moments back. So pausing and reflecting and being present, I think, is an important one.
I spend a lot of time right now. I love, my kids are 11 and 9, almost 12.
Yep.
And, I'm not going to be able to lay in the bed with my kid and scratch his back and just talk about the day when they're 14 and he's turning 12, right? At 14 to be like, dude, this is awkward. And, but we cherish that moment now. They're like to the point where, like they won't go to bed until I come in and just kind of close out the day and, reflect on the day. And I cherish those moments. So,
yeah. It's pretty cool. Also, the concept, that's something I've actually, obviously hearing from you, Sarah, I've admired about Lance. His kids are incredibly involved in hockey, and it's a commitment and it's a lifestyle. And I've been doing the same thing with my kids with, some other sports, swimming and so forth. But man, hockey is hardcore. And whenever I've asked him about it, it's like, this is time I'm never going to get back. So he's spending, his time and money to travel and do the different things with, for these kids. And I've seen a whole bunch of their games and they're incredible. What's really cool though is to see that intent of that time now. So this is a concept, like the Get Rich Slow podcast, right? Well, what do we get rich for? Right? You know, what are we working for? Yeah, that sort of thing is, man, these kids, you know, 12, mine are 12 and 9 also. And it's
I talk about when I'm with clients, money doesn't buy you happiness. It affords choices. So it affords me the choice to either go do something, you know, take a vacation on my own, or it affords me a choice to make sure that I can go up and watch their practice. It's really weird. I don't like missing practices because that's my kid's development. So why do I want to miss a practice? And I want to see them perform in a game, right? But like the practice is where the ahas come, and I want to be present for those. And so that's what money does, is it allows you to make choices, I think. And I choose to be with my kids as much as possible.
Right. I guess, Sarah, I'll ask you a follow-up on that is, you know, advice you would give your younger self. Well, is there any, you know, like that regret of, you know, what would you have done differently, maybe with your kids? Because 12 and 9, I mean, there's
regret or half glass half full.
Well, okay, so half full. Either way, however, wherever that goes, but I'm sure you have insight into that, because this is an important concept.
We're trying to represent Ashley on this podcast.
Oh,
right?
there we
go. The positive nature. I like that as well. I think one of the most we're really talking about intentionality.
Yes.
Right. With our time, with the people, right, that are most important to us. I think one of my favorite things that we've done with our kids, and it's probably been 4 or 5 years that we've been doing this, is we stopped giving our kids Christmas gifts. And instead we do a calendar of adventures instead. So each month there's, you know, it's a DIY calendar. We print it on Shutterfly or whatever. And we do a picture of some like family, right, adventure that we're going to do each month. And it's different every year. We don't tell the kids about it. You know, it's an elusive picture, right? It's a picture of, you know, something, but they can't tell exactly what it is. We don't pick a particular date. And so we do a calendar worth of adventures, and that helps secure an intentional time that we're going away as a family, putting the distractions away and experiencing something together.
Okay.
We do an Easter egg hunt where we rip up a place we're going to go, and you rip it up and put it in the eggs, and they collect all the eggs, and then they try to piece it together like a puzzle. And then that picture is where we're going. So
I love that.
That's a blast. What were some of their favorites?
You know what? Surprisingly, some of their favorites are when we do what we call kid dates, where my husband and I each take a kid right out on a date, and we get to kind of plan it together and decide what we're going to do. It's the things that they enjoy surprise me. Sometimes the things that really like light them up. Recently, my youngest daughter and I, she wanted to do crafting. So we went and got like tie-dye, and we made tie-dye shirts, and we made slime, and we ate Panda Express. It was her best day.
Okay. I love it.
Well, there you go. Lance, what was your favorite Easter egg puzzle? Or what was the kids' favorite one, I guess?
Well, before we had the place down in Cabo, so they never been to it. So we did the Cabo. We've done, we went to, we read the book. Oh God, I can't think of it now. The kid's book, Pete's Dragon. No, what's the one by on Kauai? I can't think of it. It's not Pete's the Magic Dragon, but anyways, we went to Kauai. We took a helicopter ride, and we just did this whole Kauai excursion with one of my clients actually. And it was we rode in a helicopter, which was, that was a nervous thing for everybody. It was wonderful though, just wonderful.
Yeah. And that's that time, coming back to, this, again, the whole Get Rich Slow podcast, right? The, money creates choices and wealth and so forth, is opportunity. But at the end of the day, it's the relationships, and it's that time spent together. So that's pretty incredible. I'm loving this. This is going to be a fun little series with you, Sarah. So, Sarah, where can we find you? And I think I have everything up here on the PowerPoint for the episode.
Yeah. So my website is myjourneytoinfluence.com. You can email me at sarah@myjourneytoinfluence.com. You can also find me on Instagram at Journey to Influence, and my phone number, 503-961-4602.
Excellent. That is Sarah Vanhoose with Journey to Influence. And as always, we appreciate you guys all listening. We have all of the disclosures and all the things with websites and so forth in this presentation if you're watching. Otherwise, it's down in the show notes with disclosures and so forth, and there will be a link to this. Sarah, thank you so much. This is one in a 3-part series with Sarah, and I'm really looking forward to number 2 and number 3. So thank you guys all for listening, and we'll catch you next time.